Hello and welcome to Doing Time, where humans talk about their experiences in a psych ward. Today we have guest Lael O'Shaugnessy, comedian, friend, everything. How are you?
Hey, Drew.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you?
As if we were talking before this.
Yeah. We just flew in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mentioned we're going to talk about your experiences. I know you said you haven't been to a psych ward, but sometimes I kind of want to get awareness about people who have almost been like close to a psych ward and then why they haven't been in one, or like what kind of led them around it.
Right. So I wasn't in a psych ward, but I did an outpatient program at an eating disorder recovery center.
Yeah.
So it was like 9 to 5, like for a few months. So
It's a job.
It was a job.
Yeah.
It was like we're working on myself as a job, and would I abandon some of the tenants that they taught me? You know, that's like the hard part about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I really worked on it for like a while, and I did get, and I still think I am better for it, but like, there are some things that I've completely like been like, all right, no.
For sure. How long ago did you do it?
I did it my junior year of college. I took off time and did it, and it's in Chicago. But I was 20, 21. Yeah.
Okay.
And I did it for a few months. It was good. It was intense because it was the closest I'd ever been to any like psych ward, like, because it's like it was the first time I was exposed to some real like mental health like problems, you know, where I was like, oh, I'm okay, like I'm not okay, but I'm like, in the scheme of things, I'm lucky in that I don't like deal with cutting or deal with like you know, stuff like that. It was, or even like bulimia or anorexia I was in for like binge eating, so it was like, it was illuminating because I realized that there was like a whole host of things that people were going through that I kind of didn't understand. Yeah. And there were things about myself that I didn't know that were kind of like, it's not fun to be like, to really examine yourself at all. No, which is like awful. What that whole experience is.
Yeah. But it's definitely, I mean, it's definitely awful to like examine yourself, but like, you know, it's necessary, and you're like, oh, well, I mean, I'll come out on the other side or whatever. Yeah. But like,
it's like, I did therapy today, and I'm like, yeah, I know I have to work on stuff. I'm not like jazzed about it.
Right.
Like, I'd love to just like, you know, be the laziest piece of shit and like have everything work out.
Of course, yeah. Like, I don't want to be.
You have to do stuff to make yourself feel better. That's like the annoying thing. It's like, oh, I have to work at this a little.
Yeah, it's not like you go to 9 to 5 like in therapy. They're like, oh no, like you need to like, there's like homework, like there's stuff that you like need to do. Yeah. And then also, I can totally relate to like because I was talking to Carly about how like when I went to the hospital, I saw people who were like on psychotic breaks, and so like for me, I was like, oh, I mean, at least for me, I'm not experiencing something where like I feel like I'm out of control in a sense.
Yeah, I always like only when I went on the pill in that time when I was at that, I was like real sad. That was the only time even like suicidal thoughts of any kind of popped in, and even then I was like, what is happening? Like, what's this? I don't want that. Like, and then I stopped taking the pill, and it like reset myself a little. Like, I still like struggle with depression, but the pill really made it much worse.
So you weren't on the pill in combination with other things, and that's kind of...
No, I've never been on meds, or I've never been on...
Oh, so you're saying like just taking the pill, like
the
made
pill,
your
like the birth
worse.
control pill, and and it whatever kind I took was like a generic kind of the pill I'd first taken like when I was in high school, and it like triggered something in me that I was like, fuck, like I'm real sad, like let's like figure this out. And then I remember calling my dad, and he was like, get off that pill, because the pill made your mother crazy. Yeah. I was like, okay. And I stopped taking the pill, and like got a little more like, okay, we're back to like, I'm still struggle with like being sad, but I'm not like
in that state of like
oh, this is bad sad.
Right.
This is like serious sad where I have to really be proactive here. You know, so I think like I'm pretty lucky. I definitely struggle with it, but I don't, it's never become so bad that I'm like, okay, it's time for meds, or like, okay, it's time for like hospitalization or anything like that. But I definitely have like been in therapy for a long time and did intensive therapy at that place, and like it helps, but it's also like, whew.
Oh no, it's very like, it's almost, it's like you expect it to be this, like, you lay on a couch, and, like glitter is, like, falling everywhere, and it's like, no, it's
like you have to work
really hard.
And it's, like, such a privilege, like, I'm sure you've talked about, like, to get to even do it.
Yeah,
so
to have
it's
access to things.
To have access to, like, the amount of therapy that I've done in my life is, like, I would not be able to you know, and, like, if not for my parents. So it's, like, the fact that they're willing to do, you know, to help me with that. I'm, like, so it's weird because you're, like, you have this, like, weird, like in therapy, I'm, like, man, I'm, like, talking about my issues, but my issues aren't even that bad compared to other people's. And then, like, I have access to this, and the people who have worse issues than me don't. You
start spiraling because you're in therapy.
I'm in therapy, and I don't even deserve it.
Yeah,
you know, like I
but
feel that
don't
way.
You hate it? Because, like, I've done that same thing where I'm in therapy, and I'm like, I'm sure you've, like, had worse people. And she's like, no, but your problems are. I'm like, can you not be a therapist for a second?
I'm like, I know I'm a human, whatever.
Yeah.
I suck.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's well, I mean, I've been in, like, IOP and stuff like that, and it's funny that. Like, funny, but it's just interesting that you've been to, like, my OCD program that I went to was, like, part of, like, it was, like, OCD, anxiety, and, like, eating disorder focused.
Okay.
So, like, if you had depression, like, you could go there, but it was mainly, like, exposure therapy. So, like, for people with anxiety, for people with OCD.
Yeah, I did exposure therapy.
Yeah, and so I had to do exposure therapy with eating. Where, like,
me too.
Yeah, where, like, I had, like, so my eating disorder was, like, so linked with OCD, where, like, because I was on a diving schedule, so I'm like, okay, I wake up at 5 and I eat this amount, like, in this many calories, and then I go to, like, lunch and I eat this and dinner, but it was, like, the same food for, like, months, and then my exposure therapy was, like, they threw me a snack at, like, a random time, and I literally cried. Like, it was so, like, traumatizing for me.
It's interesting, the exposure therapy being like, oh, I didn't think I was like, yeah, this will be easy, you know, they're like, this is what the exposure is going to be, and you're like, yeah, fine, throw it at me, and then you're like, oh, that's hard, that's really hard, and I feel a lot of things, and I don't know why, and now we have to talk about it in front of a group of people, and I'm going to cry, and it's, like, really upsetting. I remember doing, mine were, like, exposure for, like, eating, and then, like, body image stuff, and I remember, like, trying on a, like, romper that was too small because I just, like, wasn't being realistic. I was like, this is my size, you know, and then being like, it's not fitting, you know. And you were like shocked back to, like, things never fitting, and I'm like, okay, we're crying in the department store, and it's not good.
Oh my god, department store. Yeah, no, that's, like, the worst place to even, like, be in exposure therapy.
Totally. Yeah, but I literally haven't talked about this, like, since doing it, and I'm like, I forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, it's called exposure therapy.
Yeah, no, like, all the terms and stuff, like, remembering, like, IOP is, like, intensive outpatient.
Right,
and,
that's, like, what I did.
Yeah.
I think,
Or, like, and then PHP, which I, like, was on the podcast, and I was like, I don't know what that means. It's partial hospitalization.
So, no, so it was PHP. So
okay.
That's, like, so, and then I went to IOP, and then I was like, I don't need this shit.
Yeah. You go to IOP, and you're like, oh, like,
I was a PHP, so, the whole time I was kind of like, there are parts of this that I think are really cool and have made me really, like, reflective, but also there are parts that I don't necessarily, now that I have a little distance, I'm like, I don't agree with all of it, you know, it's, like, kind of a really intense way to live your life.
It is, and you're in such a, like, you're in such a bubble of, like, recovery mode when I read things, like, online, because I used to follow all these, like, eating disorder people, like, in recovery and stuff, and not to say that, like, what they're doing isn't, like, amazing, but from my perspective, I can't read, like, today I had this type of day, and I'm like, oh, I am so past this, like, I am so, like, in another world where, like, I don't even remember, like, the word triggered. I'm like, that's so, like, far from, and obviously, like, I do podcasts where I talk to people about it, but it's more to, like, get awareness out and, like, talk about experiences and not, like, taking, like, when people, like, take pictures of food, I'm like, oh, I forgot what that was like. Like, I always forget the, like, separation of, like, me from, like, the recovery process, and, like, recovery just looks different now.
Right. Well, being in it, like, when, like, at that program, it's, like, the language is very loaded, and, like, that you kind of have to speak in a certain way so everybody is caught, and I understand that's what is kind of necessary for those environments.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, all right, like, be realistic about the way people speak and the way that we live life, you know, like, that was my thing, is, like, I'm like, part of it is super, it has set me up with skills to live my life, and then some part of it, I was like, yeah, well, that's not a realistic way for me to live.
Right.
You know, like,
no,
I've taken the things that I think were helpful.
Yep.
But I'm like, so there's some stuff where I'm like, yeah, I'm not, like, I'm not going to, like, go to my recovery app and enter everything I ate. Like, that's not going to be a daily part of my life. Maybe it should be, and maybe I've, like, strayed. But,
you got a confession.
Yeah, like, actually, I'm sorry, I need to go back.
Start tearing up.
Yeah, but it is funny to be, like, it's a bit of, there's parts of it where I'm like, I know this is super helpful for a lot of people, but there were part of it where I was like, am I in a cult? Like, what, you know, like, where I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, it feels very, it's like us against them kind of thing.
Yeah. And I made a really good friend from the program, because we were both kind of like, you know, like, a little suspicious of parts of it, which I think is just being like it's just being like a questioning. I question a lot of authority.
Well, it's like when you're in like religion class when you're younger, and they're like, they're like, this guy up there has no idea what they're talking
you're
about.
like, okay.
Yeah, they're like, oh, God, okay.
Yeah, you're like, God, got it, but what about the real world?
Right,
you know?
and that's the thing about these places that like, I get, okay, so it's so hard to separate, like, there's such a fine line between, like, okay, yes, you're in like such a like intense state of like you're out of control that you need to be in this like loaded language and like very strict environment where everything's like calculated almost, but at the same time I want to be treated as a human. I want to be treated as somebody that's not like, are we gonna go home today and not eat, Drew? Like, I don't want that. I want just like, hey, what are your plans for tonight?
That was definitely my biggest issue with how it, like, the whole thing was set up. And I think honestly I probably was I may have not needed to do PHP, or like maybe I just needed to do IOP or something, you know, and because the whole time I was like, I don't know if I'm sick enough for this, you know, like I was kind of like, I feel like I kind of have a handle on things in a way that some people here don't, and I'm sympathetic and like understanding, but I'm like, I don't know if for me this is the right, you know, thing.
Oh, for sure.
But there were definitely aspects of it, like aspects of the therapy that like were really helpful, especially with body image stuff, but like I still struggle with body image, and I'm like that, and I'm getting better, I think, slowly progressing, but it's like it's hard to put a like everything it's like a numerical progress because you see it, you know, like they would weigh us too, because like,
did they let you not see the number or no?
No, they didn't show us the number.
Okay,
but like at the end I think because I weighed myself, and then I knew like I lost weight during the program, and then because it was more focused for like overeaters, compulsive eaters, binge eaters. So I was like also like one of the smaller girls there, because I was in like a normal dress size. Right. And, you know, I wasn't really dealing with plus size things, so it was kind of like I was like, I don't, you know, I get that it's a fit, but also I felt some tension with being in the program, if that makes sense.
100%. And it's definitely, I mean, it's the comparison thing. It's hard not to compare yourself, especially when you're like only around quote sick people, and like it's really difficult. And I mean, I was in a therapy program in Denver that I like absolutely loved, but like it was very difficult for me because like every person was like, I just got laid off, I like just got divorced, and then I'm like, I'm a Division I athlete and I like hate myself, and they're like, why are you here? Like they're like, you are like so, I mean, they would like compliment me and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not here to like hear that. I just want to like kind of just like know better coping skills, but like definitely people had like bigger like things on their plate than me, and it was definitely hard. And like the eating disorder thing is like that, one of the biggest symptoms of that is like, oh, I'm not sick enough, and like I was like on my road to like on the path to like anorexia, because I was like not eating, and then when I ate like what I called a binge, which was like just I was fucking starving, like, and just eating a normal amount of food, I would make myself throw up. And so like then, you know, like I was kind of on the way to that, and then like you said, like I had enough self-awareness and like I guess not like if you don't, you know, it's not saying like if people like are compulsive eaters, like they don't have will, but like I had enough strength in my mind to know like, oh, I have an eating disorder right now, like there's something wrong with me, and like I need to fix it. And most people who like have it might know, but they just, it's not a will thing, it's just like it literally is like a disorder. It's not, and I'm not like bashing it.
I'd say I just like got to the program way before other people did, you know.
Exactly.
So I was like, I just kind of noticed that there were, and honestly, it was weird because I have been in therapy since I was like 14 on and off. So it's like I'm kind of like aware of myself, and I have like issues kind of with that, of like even some people at the program who were like sick, like 18 and had been in programs since they were like 12, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, you can be over therapied too. Mm-hmm. So like there was like I think I came to it where I was like, all right, I really was struggling in college. I really was sad. I like was gained a bunch of weight because of the way I was eating, and I realized I was like, okay, I need to kind of figure this out a little bit, and I like checked myself, like I okayed it with my parents because they paid for it and helped, you know, I'm again super lucky, but but like I was able to like, you know, see that I needed help, and then I kind of was like, okay, I don't need this much help anymore, and now I'm kind of good, you know, versus a lot of people there were older and had like really been struggling their whole life and are finally came to a breaking point of like, I really need help.
It's like a rock bottom type of
versus
thing.
Versus me where I was just like, you know, not like,
it's
not deserving of it, but maybe it just like came at an earlier time.
But that's good though, because it's kind of like they met you at like midway point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's like how I was too. My OCD was definitely rock bottom. My eating disorder, it was like midway point where I'm like, if I keep going, I'm gonna look sickly. But if I, you know what I'm saying? But like but for me though, it's definitely like, it's literally like recovery looks different for me. Well, totally. Now I'm like, I eat whatever I want, I'm fine. Yeah. But then there's body image issues. Like I remember like the last podcast, it was like so hot in here. Yeah. And Matthew was like, why don't you take your cardigan off? And I was like, no. Oh, it's just because my like my boob scars, but like I just hate my arms. Like that literally. I hate my arms.
Dude, I literally like have this, even though like the camera's not on our legs. I'm like, let's just cover them. Yeah, just stay in case that.
Exactly.
Or like I have like stretch marks on my arms and like, and I. You know, I was saying to you before
we sniffing into the mic
before we started.
So sick.
No, you're good. Are you really sick?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But before like talking on the podcast, we were just chatting about like I saw a picture of me doing stand up and I was like, die, you know, like and I'm like, who have you let yourself become? Because I've probably put on a little weight in the past few months, and, which is like normal. But I kind of now, because of that program, I'm able to be like, okay, like you haven't been treating yourself that good, and kind of letting anxiety take the reins, like rather than sitting back. Exactly. You know, I'm like, we're kind of letting her ride. So I'm like, all right, you know, I can't. It's not sustainable to like let that be the way. And because I have these skills, I'm like, okay, we're setting up a therapy appointment. We're
proactive.
Downloading a workout app. Right. We're getting some of the things that make me feel better. We're gonna work a little harder to like include those. Yeah. But it's still like, if you talk to me on Monday, I was like teary-eyed all day. You know, it's like it's a process of like figuring yourself out, and hopefully the older you get, the smarter you are, the better you're at dealing with it all.
Well, I'm sure like too you can relate to it too. Is if like did you have older people in your program?
Yeah.
And that was the best when they'd be like, oh, honey, like, the stuff you say you know, like, I didn't know till I was, like, 45. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm so glad that I, like, kind of went through what I went through just to
I was so young, and, like, all these people being like, I, like, remember when I was your age? You know? Yeah. And having that. And I've always kind of had that because I had older siblings and stuff. And so, like, a reminder of, like, I overanalyzed myself. Yeah. Which I think brought me to a therapy program because I was like, you know, and some people don't even come to that till much later. So I'm thankful to have, like, the set of skills.
Oh, yeah,
for sure. Or at least, like, even if I abandon some of them, to, like, have the knowledge of them.
Oh, my God, yeah. Because, like, in high school, I was, like, I've just improved a lot. I mean, in high school, I was definitely, like, rebellious against authority, like, disrespectful. And, like, if I felt like being disrespectful to authority, I would like be disrespectful and like have a panic attack, like you know what I'm saying. And then now I remember being in like at work the other day and I was like upset about something, and I was like feeling like the symptoms of a panic attack come on, and it wasn't even about work, it was just about like all this like stress I was going through, and then I was like, oh no, I can handle this. Like I'm not gonna be in high school and like storm out of the room and be like, fuck you guys. I'm like, no, that's like $13,000 I'm throwing out right now. Like I can't do that.
Yes, right.
So
and I think just that's not even just like therapy, so that's getting older.
It's maturing
and
for
maturing and getting better at things. Like even with like my anxiety, like I have anxiety attacks and like a decent amount. But I've even got like the other day I was out to lunch with Sai, my boyfriend, and I was like felt one like coming on, and then I was like, okay, like you're out to lunch with a person you love, and it's a beautiful day out, like. no, like, I'm not going to deal with this shit right now.
Of course, but do you feel like, well, for me, like, my panic attacks are, like, physical.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, sometimes I feel like I can't, like, control them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like, I think of, like, good things. I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to do comedy. Like, I, like, feel, like, really good. And then, like, even if I'll have, like, a good set, I'm like, I'm not good enough. And I, like, start to spiral.
Yeah.
But, like, sometimes I feel like even if I tell myself those things, like, it's hard to just because, like, my body starts feeling numb and, like, stuff like that. Like, I don't know how yours manifest.
Yeah,
but, like,
so I think I kind of do, like, I would say, like, a panic attack is different than an anxiety attack for me. Because, like, panic, I'm like, yeah, it's like I can't.
Yeah.
But I've had, like, a handful of panic attacks versus I have anxiety, like, a lot all the time. So, like, I could even call it, like, an anxiety moment where it's like, okay, we're having a moment. Like, it's a feeling, like, versus panic. Like, I remember I had a panic attack and I was like, we're calling the ambulance. You know, the ambulance is coming. I'm dying. You know, like, it feels just like that. Yeah, I'm lucky that I don't have those as much as just, like,
oh, those are so scary.
Like, they're scary because it feels, and I mean, I once I got to the hospital, I was like, I remember when I had a panic attack once, and they were like, it happens all the time, and I'm like, oh, you know. Yeah. But anxiety is I'm able to be like, okay, I feel like I can't take a deep breath, but if I focus enough on breathing, I'll, like,
yeah, you're still more self-aware.
Yeah.
That's good. Hello, we are back from break. Very, luxurious break, I'd say. Some sips of water, and I blew my nose.
I checked my phone.
Yeah, always.
Got a hit. Got a hit of screen time.
Yeah.
That's all I needed.
Oh my god. So I was gonna, like, just bring up kind of, like, recovery in the sense of, like, I thought it was kind of cool. We talked about, like, different ways of recovering in terms of, like, the language stuff.
Yeah.
And how it's, like, packed. I mean, maybe you could, like, explain to people who don't know, like, and not, like, it's hard to, like, off the spot, but just, like, if you know. One. Okay.
So if you were, like, if Drew was like, I just feel, do you want to start that timer? Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
BTS, behind the scenes.
You wouldn't get it.
If Drew was like, I don't know, I'm just feeling really down about this, A, B, and C, and I was like, well, Drew, I just want to take a minute and validate that for you. I just want to take a minute and validate how you're feeling. Yeah. It's like, and everyone's, like, saying that, and you're like, okay, like, like, there's ways to be like, dude, I feel that too. Like, but it's like, I just want to take a moment and really validate how you're feeling.
It's like a slumber party. You're just like, guys, thank you.
You're like, thank you, I am valid, you know?
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
I am valid in my feelings, and it's like, of course you're valid in your feelings, and I get where it comes from, but it's like, Marie, like,
you're also a big bitch.
Yeah, let's just be real. Like, can we have, like, and I had a friend who I met from the program, and we were always kind of, like, able to, like, make fun of that a little bit and, like, have stayed friends and, like, still chat on the phone.
Yeah, there's always those cool people that you, like, look at side-eye and you're like, this is fake,
yeah,
right?
We're like, what's the deal with this, huh?
We're in the Matrix.
Like, we're sick, but, like, you know, we're okay.
We're better than
we're better than these people.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, like, such a sad kind of way to look at it, but when you're in that scenario, you're like, do I need to be here? Should I, like, is it bad enough that I'm here? Am I wasting money? Like,
Dude, yes. There was this one girl who, like, wouldn't, okay, and I'm sorry, like, I know my podcast is about mental health awareness, but
we're, like,
we're also comics, but, like, there was this one girl who, like, I couldn't stand her, and, like, literally my exposure therapy was, like, sitting in group therapy with her because I literally could not stand her, and she was, like, this woman who, like, she just wouldn't admit she had bipolar, and she was, like, really moody, and, like, she would talk an ungodly amount, and then whenever, and it's, like, that side-eye thing, but everybody in the group had that about her, so when she would go meet with her therapist, everyone's like, she's fucking crazy, right?
Well, there's also, like, always those people where they're like, do we need her in the group?
Yeah.
Are we all progressing?
She was about to be moved out of the group. Yeah. And I would call my mom, like, so angry, and I'm like, this girl, I cannot stand her. Yeah. And she also, too, would, like, make comments to people, too, where she's like, have you ever thought about, like, maybe telling your brother that heroin isn't good for him? And I'm like, can you...
Do you hear yourself?
Do you have a master's? Yeah. You should call him, dude. I mean, this is... we found the cure.
Yeah, like, you really figured it out.
Yeah.
No,
I was like, no, I haven't thought of that.
There is something funny about being in, like, a therapy setting and judging. You know, like, we're obviously not supposed to.
Of course.
But we're humans. And there were people who I was like, okay, we're not getting any better, are we?
Yeah, exactly.
We're back to your old... It's funny to be in that situation when you know these people so intimately, strangely, because, like, you're just thrown together by a common struggle, but to be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
If this is the right
I don't know
exposure for you.
Yeah, I don't know if your feelings are valid.
I don't know if we're really getting at the real issue here in your exposure. You know, because you can kind of choose your own exposure for what it would be, and you're like, okay.
You see people, like, half-assing it, and you're like, this is a lot of money to, like...
Yeah, like, just, like... Or just people monopolizing the conversation, and, like, their issue... Or it's, like, obviously, like, their issue to them is that serious, you know? Because that's the thing with mental health, is it's, like, you think it's the end of the world, even if it's not, and you can't control your brain, so it's, like, obviously I have sympathy for that. But I'd be like, okay, your boyfriend in Canada, you know what I mean? It's, like, not talking to you. Like, life happens.
Yeah, he's not going to text you back.
Just get over. And there's, like, moments like that. There I'm like, do we need to bring this into the therapy group? Or is this a girlfriend chat thing? So, like, I definitely always had, like, I mean, you got to be able to make fun of things. Like,
of course. It's honestly one of the ways I got through. It was, like, trying to be funny and, like, just be, like, I tried to be, like, the class clown in the group therapy.
Yeah, they're like, she's going to be on SNL one day.
And you're like, yeah, you're like, oh, stop it.
I'm like, no. I'm barely doing stand-up, but I'll take it. Because I was doing stand-up, like, once every... They were like, how's this for an exposure? You do stand-up in front of us. And I go, no. I was, like, rejected. In the end, like, no.
My exposure's coming here every day.
Like I'm doing enough work. I don't need to do stand-up in front of a group of, you know, people with mental health issues.
Yeah, exactly. You're all going to be triggered and go home. That's what's going to happen.
It's like, I'm literally making fun of this, you know? Or, like, not this, but, like, these issues.
Oh, of course.
So, I mean, you would be triggered or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, no, it's and it's funny because I actually would get wrapped into it a little bit when I was in high school. I would totally get wrapped in. So I did this program. It wasn't a program, but it was this thing called Reaching Out. Shout out Row Group. And it was like in high school, everybody who had been hospitalized would go to this one like room every day, and we could eat lunch there. We could do whatever we wanted. We could chill. We could like the nurse was like this like albino like sweet woman who would like every day I walked in, I'd just be crying, and she's like, "Do you need to see Mrs. blah blah blah?" And I was like, "Yeah," and like it was just like it was like so sad, and like. And then in the group therapy and those things, I was like so invested because it was also high school, so I like wanted to know drama. I was like, wait, you went to whose house?
Well,
like,
there's more drama in that versus like a group when you're a little older and there's like old people.
Yeah, and then when I like obviously like grew up a little bit, I was like, oh, like I don't need like this like kind of like coddling in a sense.
Yeah.
And I totally felt more. So here's the thing, like there are certain things where I like get back into recovery mode where like I feel like I'm like. Almost like you need to prove a point that like people shouldn't joke about certain things and yada yada yada, and like I like, and it's not even like as a comic, but like I don't know if you can relate to this, but like sometimes like my boyfriend will say something like, "Oh my god, like you're like eating so much." He's like, "What are you, fat?" And I'm like,
you can't.
No, I'm like, you can't like say that, and he's like, "But you're not," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't think that. But like I think I'm fat."
Totally.
So like when you say that to me, like. That he's like, well, so what do you, and it's hard to separate from like being like, oh, I can't joke about it, you're like a comic, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm also a person.
I'm a person who struggles with this stuff.
Exactly, and it's like I think
well, that's just like not even mental. That's just like being like sensitive to people's feelings.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like I think like I'm a comic, and I can sense when somebody like tenses up, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I was really just fucking around. Right. You know, like I really, I mean, I'm sorry if I took it to a place that you're actually like sensitive about.
Right, of course. There's certain things that I'm definitely sensitive about too, when like. I don't know, like, even little things, too, where, like, people will, comics will, like, roast me about, like, an outfit I'm wearing or something, and I'm like, it has nothing to do with my body, but I internalize it, and I'm like, oh, it's because I thought I was fat.
Totally.
Like, it's like, it's not even on the radar or the spectrum of what they're talking about, but I'm so in my own world that
and, like, fat isn't even, like, a terrible thing to be, but, like, the message that we're sold is that it is.
Of course.
It's like, you know, like.
Exactly. Especially, like, I did diving, gymnastics, and water polo. I was naked my whole life, like literally wearing a swimsuit.
Looking at you.
Exactly, and then also too, like I remember being in gymnastics, and I was like, I have to slim down because like there was all these skinny girls, and I was muscular, and like they were skinny, but they were like skinny muscular kind of, and I just like didn't feel like I don't know.
Trust me, I still struggle with my weight. I'm like,
yeah.
My now goal is to like be healthy and being a comedian will kind of like toughen you up a little bit.
Yeah.
At least like now, and I also, since I like make fun of myself in my own stand up, it gives me a power where it's like you can't even say anything because I said it all.
You said all of it. Mm-hmm.
So now you got what else are you gonna say? You know? And
what do you say? I'm not hot.
Yeah. What do you say?
That joke you have about
what are you gonna say? I'm fat. I already said that up there.
Yeah.
Like got nice try, but it still will get to you. But I think we're like. Every once in a while, I'll be like, okay, we need to check back in.
Yeah.
Let's do a little check-in. A little check-in. See how we're doing.
Yeah.
And I had one of those on Monday. I was like, all right, that's not a good reaction. That was a catastrophic reaction to something. Let's remember some of these,
coping skills and the
and
biggest,
it's like boring, but whatever.
It's boring, but it does like change. I mean, it changes a lot, and like. It's definitely like a training thing. Like one of the things you learn, I'm sure you learn this, is like thought challenging and like reframing your thoughts and stuff like that. And so like if, for example, somebody he'll say like, you're eating a lot or whatever, and I'm like, oh, like he wouldn't say that to like hurt me, or I'll reframe it and be like, I'm not fat, I think this because I've always thought that, and then I like reframe it to something positive.
Totally. It's so funny that you used to have that example. Like my boyfriend, like I like Fig Newtons was a food I would binge, and we like got Fig Newtons, and I like took down like 2 sleeves like quick,
Yeah.
And he was like, whoa, like you really ate those fast, and I like started crying because it was it was just one of those, and he like had, it was not coming from a place of judgment, like he was just like, he was like, damn, where where those Newtons go.
It's also a guy thing.
I did eat them fat, and he was, and then like and he instantly was like, whoa, and it's like, and those are things where it's like, he doesn't know, kind of like he does now, but like, everyone's history with food or whatever their coping thing is, if it's booze or drugs, whatever it may be, but like mine was food. It's like there are these visceral reactions that you have sometimes when you're like thrown back into being at the worst you were, you know, and like, that's kind of like an intense when it's just like you remember that memory, like I was really struggling, and like, and something will throw you back to that. And
it's like a second.
It takes a second.
Literally, like just him saying that to you, and then also like for me, like my thing was like. I mean, like, my thing that, like, almost, like, there's always, like, moments where, like, I'm like, oh, if this person says this, then I'm gonna react this way, and, like, what happened was, like, I was, like, about to get my breast reduction, and they, like, almost, like, overcharged me, like, $1,000 to get, they're, like, well, some girls, I guess, if they have, like, bigger breasts, and then they, like, get a reduction, they'll, like, need, like, liposuction, because, like, the fat, like, is, like, it's kind of like loose skin, like, if you lose a lot of weight, so... They were like, oh, like, you're going to need liposuction. And I was like, wait, what? And they're like, well, it's just, like, like, everybody gets it just, like, for cosmetic reasons. And I was like, but I don't, like, have fat. Like, I was, like, going into, like, like, the mode thing. And then they're like, oh, like, let me check. And then the doctor, like, checked. And I was like, oh, if he says I need it, I'm going to, like, fucking flip a lid, whatever. And then I didn't need it. But I was like, would my body is the same no matter what he told me. You know what I'm saying? But I still, in my mind, I'm like, oh, if he tells me, like, I need liposuction, like, I'm fat. Do you know what I'm saying? And, like, not that I'm not... condoning that fat is a bad thing, but to me that's like the end of the world. Like that was like what I grew up with, was like fat is bad.
I feel like I sometimes like have, and I'm just now like kind of being like, because I'm heavier and not crazy, but overweight, and I feel sometimes like a like reaction, like I'm kind of like reacting to like the town I grew up in, and I'm like, you know what, fuck you guys. I am gonna not work out. And I'm gonna stay this way, and fuck you, it's fine. And then I'm like, okay, true, it's fine to look anyway, I believe, but there are kind of self-sabotaging things about that where I'm falling back into like old pattern. I'm like, okay, but I care about my health, and like, like I am like I think I'm pretty healthy, but I get sick a lot. I'm like, well, that partially could be like if I'm not taking good enough care of myself, which is like part of like you can be healthy at a lot of sizes.
Yeah.
But like I'm like I'm like, okay, I'm not even being healthy. You know, it's like you got to put that first.
Of course,
and
for sure.
you can lose sight of it when you're like when it's like embroiled with all this other like these other messages that you're getting.
Oh, it's all like internalized stuff to you, like from your childhood and like things like that. And then I also think like I grew up at a school where it was just like everybody was skinny. Yes, and so like for me, like fat was like, it was like the enemy word. Like it was like, if you're like, no, like that's like an off-limit thing. And like, yeah, and it's like scary, especially too when like I grew up in an area, and I truly believe like the reason why people are like skinny and like healthy quote unquote like BMI wise like skinny is because like we're privileged and have resources. Like you need to eat fruits and vegetables, you need to eat lean protein, like and they have access to it. Parents would buy healthy food, you know what I'm saying? Yes. And like a lot of times like when I would teach on the south side, like I'd see kids that were overweight and I was like, oh, it's literally like a resource thing. And then you know, like it's just sometimes, I mean, I don't know, sometimes I just felt like that was just like the enemy word, especially like being a diver and being like being a Division I athlete. Like if you couldn't, if I was like like not biggest one there, but it was just like I felt like that.
Totally, yeah.
And then it was like that's a bad thing for me because I'm the biggest one, and it's like this whole like spiral.
Totally, like I have like I look back at pictures for me from high school, and I'm like, hot, like, work it, girl, into it.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, and I remember my friend Oliver who went to a public school, he was like, because I went to a private school, and everyone was thin, you know. Yeah. And he was like, dude, if you went to a public school, you'd be fine. You know?
Oh my God.
And now I'm like in the world, and I'm like, oh yeah. Like,
yeah.
A thick ass and like tits services you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a detraction, even though we're kind of, you know, and it's more in fashion, but it's also, you know, men are very into that, and that was like a discovery process for me, because I was like, I literally joke, I'm like, I didn't know I had a fat ass till I was like 22 years old, and then I was like, wow, people are into this thing. Like I don't get it necessarily, but I'm like, people like it.
Oh, dude, I remember like St. James is like, he's like, I just remember he was like, Drew, like this image that you want to look like sickly or whatever, like he's like, I don't find that that's like I'll leave, like I'm not in for this.
That's not it.
And he was like, can you like, and every day he's like, can you just eat fried chicken and do squats? And I'm like, okay.
No, totally. Like it's like, oh, I think like my tits got bigger, and so I was like, oh,
yeah.
And he's like, and the ass, you know, like what about the ass? And I'm like, all right, like I want to be healthy too,
of course,
but like it is just like it's so like he's so accepting of like whatever way I look, you know? And like
for sure.
and kind of realizing and I think I was getting to that point like even before I got in a relationship, because you don't want all your validation to come from like your relationship, but it helps.
Oh yeah, it helps a lot.
But like even just like all mental health for me was always so tied up in my body image and like the way I ate, and just like it was all kind of wrapped up. I'm like, because like my self-image was just like and still is bad, you know. Like I want to say that I've fixed everything, but it's like I still really like will see myself in a certain angle or a certain light. Like I'm sure I'll see this and be like, oof,
no,
you know, and that's but like of course I'm like down to do it all, but now like before I may not have said yes to this. And now I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't like. I'll look how I look.
That's great.
And then we'll see. We'll deal with a moment of like,
yay,
ooh,
I'm
and
glad,
then we'll
I'm glad
and then we'll like get past it.
Yeah,
know?
Of course. And that's funny because we've mentioned like a couple of times during this that like pictures from stand up is always like the worst too. Where like I told you, like this, I was at Zany's last night, and this like woman who was like an audience member like took pictures and like sent them to me. And the first thing that I look at is not even like, oh, was I having fun? Was I smiling? I look at them like my arms look fat. Like my like my boobs look weird. Like just like everything I can like pick on is like, and that's like a lot of times I look at stand like I don't have like big like facial expressions, so like for me to look at pictures of my stand up, you're like, I don't have that problem. But
I have my facial expressions in stand up. I'm like, oh, like do we need to? I'm like. I'm like, do we need to make that face?
Yeah,
like, did the joke really need that?
Yeah.
Because I'll see these pictures and I'm like, okay, you know, I know it like works on stage, but to see them in pictures, it's like going real big.
Oh yeah, you're like, I must have been selling the joke.
I was really hitting the mark, I guess.
Yeah, I have.
You hope.
Yeah, I have like one photo of me smiling, and that's like it. Like I just don't have like and
cute pictures of doing stand up don't really exist. And if they do, I'm like, you're probably not good at it.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, be a model, will you? Be an actress.
Just to get out of this.
You're in showbiz.
This is my field. I still remember finding out there were hot comedians and being like, fuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
when I see like Nikki Glaser, I'm like,
why are you so hot? Like, and funny? That's not fair. It shouldn't be the way it is.
Oh yeah, that's so funny. Like when I see that. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's I guess it's like retraining my brain, and like even doing this podcast has like made me more aware of like what I'm doing too. Where like if I said like now that I've said that to you, I'm like, oh, when I look at my photos, maybe now I'll just like look at like, was that a good photo of me? Not if I look fat.
Yeah.
And what I perceive fat is bad for me.
Yeah.
But like, do I look like I'm having fun? Because I had a great set, and I'm like, okay, well, I like that was a great set. Like, why wouldn't I want pictures from that?
Totally, and it's like if and it matters, like, honestly, if posting a picture where you look kind of funny is better.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, you're having fun. You're like,
you're
being, like, we didn't get into this because we're, like, models, you know?
Exactly.
So to try to be would be, like, ridiculous.
I know, it's so funny you say that, like, when people, like, look good, you're like, they're not that good. It's so funny I see people who, like, these, like, random people who, like, friend request me, and they're, like, they look so good, and I'm like,
you're too hot.
And then I see them do their jokes, and I'm like, oh, that's, yeah.
Which is, like, obviously, like, a bias, but there are hot, funny comedians. Like, it happens, and it's annoying when it does, but they're cool, too. I realize hot people are cool, too.
Well, I remember this.
This has been a journey for me, but I'm here now.
I remember at Comedy Bar, there's like the wheel and you spin it.
Yeah.
And then one time I remember we were like friends, but we weren't like good friends. Yeah. And I landed on crowd work and I was like, oh, fuck this shit. Yeah. I said like, where are you from? And then I like said something rude, of course, because I'm like a bitch. And I like said it, and then I was like, oh shit, like now they hate me. So I just literally just did my set.
Your jokes, yeah.
And then you get on stage and you're like, well, she's hot and didn't follow the rules. And I was like,
hell yeah.
And I was like, does she hate me?
No.
It's so
like,
funny.
It's funny, people will bring up things I've said in between, like, hosting, and I'm like, A, no memory, B, kind of funny.
Yeah. You're like, it's like, still hilarious.
Stand by the roast. But, like, at the moment, I'm like, you gotta do crowd work, girl.
Yeah, exactly.
It landed on crowd work.
Yeah, every last joke, sit there in silence if you have to. You gotta do crowd. We don't care that you're hot.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, we get it. You're a cute girl. You're hot. We love it. But come on.
Oh my god.
And you know, I don't care.
No, I know. It was just really funny because like that stage is like really difficult. And then I remember like Sai went up and you're like, isn't he so cute? And they're like, can you bring a comedian up? Like we don't.
I'm like, I'm fucking him.
Just
like,
so
everyone knows, I fucked that guy and he's really cute. Don't you think?
We should put a picture of Sai with the hamburger. Yeah. Oh my god.
I make sure everyone knows.
Yeah. No, but it's definitely like it's funny because I don't know. I feel like stand-up has definitely like contributed to like some like helping me in recovery in terms of like falling into patterns where I'm like, oh, this isn't healthy, and then like getting out of it because I'm like, oh, I have coping. Like I remember like I like gained like 5-10 pounds because I was like drinking. Oh, so you get paid in drinks.
Yeah, when I moved here, I drank like a fish for a full year, like 5 nights a week. Like, but I also was working in a restaurant, so I lost weight, so I was like, I'm doing great. Like, it's like, it's more than that, but sometimes for me at least, I subscribe it completely, like anything, like what I weigh is how I'm doing, which is completely false. But but I fell into where I was like, okay, we're drinking a lot, and obviously it's fun, we're having a lot of fun, we're meeting a lot of people, but how do we handle this better
and like continue to just like cope better? I mean, because you said like a lot of times for me, I'm like on a high weight day and I'll literally have a worse day, like because I'm like always thinking about, oh, what did I eat that made me weigh more, or like what did I do that, I don't know, just like constantly like constantly like
I don't
spiraling.
weigh myself.
I weigh myself like too much.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. That for me is, I probably should weigh myself like once a month or something, but I don't weigh myself because I am like terrified. I'm like, if it's gotten bad, you're bad, you know. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, it should be more about health and like how you're feeling,
validation to it.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it's like it's just a number.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're gorge.
So are you.
Gorge.
Thank you.
Inside and out.
Yeah. Quote from me, Lael O'Shaughnessy's hot. Want everybody to know.
True. And she doesn't
listeners.
Follow the fucking rules. Of the comedy bar.
And you can't fuck her because.
And guess what? She's taken, bitch.
Yeah. Exactly. No, but part of my eating disorder, honestly, is because I am muscular and weigh way more than like what people think.
Bro, it's a denser way,
dude,
right?
Yeah, like I remember going.
You're like the bust kind of heavy.
Yeah, like I would go to and I'll just be vulnerable. I've never like said my weight, but like I went to the doctor like to get a colonoscopy. I've had so much like fucking shit that I've been through, but like to get a colonoscopy, and the girl's like writing down her weight, and I was like, she's like, how much do you weigh? And I was like 150, and she's like 115, and I was like
no 150.
No 15. Yeah. And she's like. And she like asked me 7 times. She's like, "Where did it all go?"
Well, because like you don't carry it like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But it was just like she said it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm insane." Like I am so focused on this like 150. I'm obese on the BMI chart. Like I'm built so differently.
That's the way you're built.
Yeah. And Yeah.
So. No, I totally identify with that. But like because like I weigh like 200 pounds, but like I am like. Now I'm kind of able to like separate myself a little from that, where it's like, okay, I might be heavier on a heavier end than I have in a bit, but I also like am more confident. I'm more like able to speak my mind. Like I have a confidence that I did not have when I was like in treatment from stand up probably and other things, but like I'm able to be like, no. Fuck you, or like I was never able to stand up for myself. I was never, because I thought since I was like fat, I was like, no, you stay quiet. You're quiet and nice, and you're nice to everybody. And it's like I'm still nice, and I try to be kind. But like if someone's crossing like a boundary that I feel is uncomfortable, it's still easier for like a friend for me to be like, not cool. But like even standing up for myself a little more of being like, what the fuck, man? Like, no, and separating it from how I look or what I weigh.
Yeah. No, it's and I feel like that's like progress, because that is something that it takes a lot to identify with. I remember I just felt different. Like when I gained like 15 pounds when I was a freshman in college, I literally felt different. Yeah. Like I was like, I thought I was like not like less of a person, but I just felt shitty. Like I just didn't feel good. And I think like to be able to have progress with that is amazing. And it's also like maturity, kind of like you said. But thank you so much for doing the podcast. It was amazing. Thanks for being vulnerable.
Always. I love it. I'm addicted to vulnerability.
Yeah, exposure therapy.
It's a public vulnerability that services my career. Only that. I would not have this conversation with you one-on-one.
Yeah, for sure.
I totally would.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so where can people find you?
I am at Lael O'Shag, LaelOshag on social media, Twitter, Insta.
Okay, cool.
And those are the two.
Yeah.
I run a show, High Dive, on Thursdays in the Ukrainian Village at the High Dive Bar. 8
p.m.
8:30.
8:30. Yeah, right.
And that's early still. And then I have a newsletter that's new that you can subscribe to, which is my Instagram bio.
Wait, is it the deli?
Delimeats.substack.com. And that's just fun. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And recently, Lael performed on Just for Laughs, which is like the biggest comedy festival in the world. So when is it? Do you know when that's coming out?
Well, they didn't film it, so it just happened.
Okay.
And life goes on.
Okay, so but
that is my credit.
Yeah, no, that's the big credit for the mental health podcast.
So for the mental health podcast, you all have to know I was in Montreal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for watching Doing Time.
Thank you.